It does seem like an incredible resource that could marry up with this trail. Can you hear me? Okay. My question is, you've mentioned several times that you'd like to see the site protected. Who owns the land that you're on right now?
We own the land.
Okay. So when you talk about protecting it, what exactly do you mean? I mean, since you own the ownership of the property, are you referring to how you manage it better?
We're open to any opportunities right now. So we're looking at collaborating. The land could be transferred to somebody else. I mean, this is an incredible piece of property. And as you saw, there was some damage to a track, and that's not the only track site that was damaged. There's a lot of erosion going on. For that reason, we haven't uncovered proper tracks, because we're trying to protect them with the soils. But it needs more. We're a very poor science center, I'll tell you that right now. And so we're trying to focus on educating the public of all ages about sciences. And this has been an ingredient of how we're educating them, taking them out, take school groups out. We teach them about geology. We teach them about physics out on this property. But the potential is so much larger than what we're doing. We don't want to limit its ability to reach people. So we're open to suggestion. We're open to any suggestion that you might have, whether it's putting up a trail center there, maybe a trailhead that could start the trail and get people out on the property, whether it's a transfer of the property. We always need and look forward to having advice from other groups on how to move forward with protecting the property. So we are open to suggestion, but we definitely are interested in collaboration and moving forward.
Well, thank you. I just want to close, Mr. Chairman, by again thanking you for being here. And it's such a incredibly archaeologically rich site. I mean, it would be great to see El Paso and the county and the city get behind preserving it, and be interesting to see what ideas we have for also partnering.
We are in Sunland Park, New Mexico. The property's in Sunland Park. It's not in Texas.
Okay, I don't know why that little detail was lost.
Sorry, if we didn't state that clearly, it's in Sunland Park, New Mexico. The entire property's in New Mexico.
Well, okay. Well, then that changes my narrative a little bit. Thank you so much. It's exciting. Appreciate you being here.
And indeed, I got the impression that it was located in Texas as well.
We didn't do very good, did we?
It would have been a good tail end to the trail. But I think we do have in statute a conservation easement opportunity that you may want to look at in terms of an ability to continue to own the property, but yet kind of make it tax-free for one thing, and essentially available to the public.
Thank you. We'll definitely explore that. We've also thought about the fact that if somebody else owned the property, it's still an educational opportunity for the people of El Paso, of Las Cruces, visitors traveling through. So again, we're open to suggestion and to collaboration, but we're not going to limit ourselves one way or another, because we do need to move forward and make sure that this property is protected the way we promised Stanley Job it would be protected when he donated the property to Insights. And he's open to those options as well.
Commissioner Barella?
Yeah, thank you for being here. I thought this presentation was fabulous. And,
thank you.
Again, being from this area, it's really neat to see. I've not.
Had you ever been there?
I know, and I've heard about it, but I haven't been there, and I do intend to go there now that I know a lot more about it. It's fabulous. And I think you have a great amount of potential. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I think this is perhaps a golden opportunity for us to take advantage of this property. And he talked about the various aspects of how it can be used and plugged into this trail. Two comments. Number one, I do think we, as a commission, need to look at how we can utilize this wonderful resource. And I think the second and maybe critical point is that we need to start thinking about working with El Paso County, City of El Paso, on these types of ideas. Yes, this is a New Mexico idea, make no mistake about it, this Rio Grande Trail Commission, but because of the demographics and because of the geography here, we need to start thinking about how we work with El Paso groups. And really the second point I want to make is that there is a bit of a cartographic anomaly. There's about an 8-mile stretch of the Rio Grande that is disconnected from New Mexico in Texas. Country Club Boulevard, roughly the river veers west, or excuse me, the state line veers west from the river, all the way up to around Anthony. So the Rio Grande actually runs through Texas during that about 8-mile stretch. And so it's disconnected from this property that we're talking about here. The good news is Texas does already have a developed trail, a run on it, that runs around Country Club Boulevard north. But it's something we need to consider because there is, I guess it's about 8-10 miles of trail that runs through Texas. The Rio Grande runs through Texas. And the state line runs probably as far as 1 mile to 2 miles west, I would guess. So that's something at least we need to consider and keep in mind. And then it connects back to where this property is. If you had a finer granularity map, I could explain it much better than how I'm describing it. But it's something we need to consider as a commission, that 8-mile stretch. Inherently, I think we probably have to work with our colleagues in Texas, El Paso City, El Paso County.
And we have reached out a little bit to El Paso regarding this property as well as the Science Center. Beto O'Rourke, our representative, knows about the property and I believe has been out there. And we've talked to the El Paso Community Foundation and other agencies. Because the property's in New Mexico, they're pretty hands-off on this particular property.
Commissioner Zuni.
Is there an annual cost to maintaining this particular property, and what is that?
Well, I'm very excited to hear that Senator Cisneros said there's some perhaps tax exemptions that might be involved, because right now the biggest, and this is an unfortunate thing, but the biggest expense that we have is paying for the taxes. I wish I could, and insurance. I wish I could say that we were injecting $10,000 or $20,000 a year into typical trackway preservations, building boardwalks, things along those lines, but it's just beyond our organization fiscally right now. But that figure that I threw out is approximately what it would probably take just to bring the trails up to a good point where you could appreciate the paleontology of the region, the geology of the region, but also still continue to have the mountain bikers and other interest groups going through there for their purposes as well.
So what was that amount?
So I would think it would be about $10,000 to $20,000, depending on what type of preservation is done. There's two ways to preserve trackways. One is basically putting a lacquer over everything, and the other is building a roof structure that keeps it out of the elements as much as possible. The good news right now, again, it's a bittersweet thing. There's so many trackways there that as they erode, because sandstone is a very soft stone, and so as it rains, one track is uncovered, it may take 5 years to erode that one and a new one is revealed. So that is going to run out eventually, but that's why we're here today, is we recognize we don't have the resources to do right by that property.
So the taxes and the insurance?
Taxes and insurance run us about $4,000 to $5,000 a year on the 210 acres.
So 210 acres, you say
4 to 5,000, 4 to 5, yeah.
That's under a better figure.
Yeah, I know our taxes for the past year were about $2,500, and then the insurance, because it's a public liability, is a little about the same.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you very much for that presentation. That was really, really helpful. I do have a couple questions for you as well. So where do you get your funding from to pay for your taxes?
We beg a lot.
That's our job. So Insight Science Center has a somewhat non-traditional model for a science center historically. My background's in informal science, museum, zoo settings, and typically for science education, you have a lot of corporate funders behind you. As you know, this region has struggled to try to attract a lot of the corporations in. It has a ways to go with STEM education and I guess cultivating the right attraction, and I think we're getting there. But it's been funded primarily by a lot of philanthropists in town. Marianne Dotson in the Junior League have kept it alive for a very long time. And so we're looking at a new model now. We have a fairly new board, and we're taking a very strategic look at the future and trying to cultivate a lot of the corporate relationships that would benefit our region and the purpose behind the Science Center. But again, that's what we're focusing our efforts on in El Paso. And this property, this parcel out in New Mexico, is getting very minimal attention from us, much to our dismay. But we have other priorities in mind right now.
And did you say that you do have trail alignments that are established within that property?
There are definitely about 3 kilometers of trailway, and we will share this PowerPoint with you. You can zoom in, see it a lot better. And then the UTEP website also has a lot of the information on these QR codes that pull up. But it's there. It needs a good work group to go out there once or twice a year to kind of tidy it up a little bit, but it's there.
Commissioner Zuni?
Did I hear correctly that there might be an opportunity to transfer ownership?
Yes, we would be interested in having that discussion of transferring ownership if it would protect the tracks.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Steinborn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How many people a year visit the site?
We started really monitoring it back in May, and we had about over 200 paid tours starting in May to now. And then we have this self-reporting that we're asking people to do, and we've had about 130 people who filled out the little card and stuck it in the box. And I think we got $1 maybe as a donation.
We asked them not to put money in there just because of the location, but yeah. And typically, I think with self-reporting, naturalists are pretty good, so we're at about 25% for people who report going out to places when asked to take a 5-second survey, so about 4 times more of that can be estimated. I do want to emphasize, though, if in the future, and I know there are groups that are tasked with kind of the education component, the continuity of the trail, and those terms are failing me for your presentation earlier, but as you're thinking about the unveiling or however this is going to roll out, please do keep in mind that 35,000 people go through that property. And with this being a word of mouth type community and culture that we're reaching out to, that's a huge window to create exposure. And so whether it's interpretive panels that are set there, whether it's a huge event that coincides with the pilgrimage, I mean, you think about the religious connotations and the history that's there, there's a lot of stories to tap into. We just like talking about the dinosaurs, but there's a lot that really could help catalyze what you're doing.
So, thank you. A few more questions. So right now, are you structured as, or is the property owned by the nonprofit?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And it's called the El Paso Science Center?
We're called Insights El Paso Science Center.
Okay. Have you ever applied for federal funding before, or thought about looking?
We've applied for like NSF grants and things like that. Yes, we are applying for grants, multiple grants every month, so yes.
Well, we're lucky. We have a representative of Senator Udall's office in the back, Elizabeth Trigger, so she may be someone you want to exchange cards with before you leave.
Great, thank you.
And I just think it's a fascinating opportunity for the state of New Mexico that you have this incredible site that you're willing to maybe donate, that's within the state, that's outside these growing communities. You know, clearly a management challenge, but a great opportunity as well, and something that within the bounds of New Mexico we should be protecting. I mean, we should. So I'd love to learn more about it and maybe even work as a representative too. I don't know, maybe we can bring your agency together with NMSU and others to look at this site, understand it better, and beyond the bounds of the trail,
And there has been some initial conversations with the New Mexico Museum of Natural History about maybe they're acquiring the property. So there's a lot of potential, I think, and I hope that we can continue the conversation and see where we can go with this process. I would like to tell you, and Kathy reminded me, thank you, Kathy, that there's a handout for you in your binder. It's in the back. And then I think there were some for the public as well. And they're on the back table. Is that right?
We handed
Oh, you handed them out. So feel free to take those with you if you'd like. And if anybody would like a tour of the property, if you would just call Insights, those tours can be set up with no problem whatsoever. So please let us know if we can take you out.
I have a question to the commission.
Just begin the mic.
Yes, I have a question to the commission. Do you anticipate any relationship with your the trail to the south? Are you making any contact with people in Chihuahua, for instance, where the trail? I have been on the trail in Chihuahua many times, and what are your ideas there?
I'm not sure that we've really discussed that, but it's certainly something, just like working with El Paso and El Paso counties, is something that we could sure consider. And, you know, we might want to consider putting together a subcommittee